If you're talking, Javi, you are muted, so we cannot hear you. And if you don't want to participate, that's okay too.
There it is.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, sorry I'm a bit late.
No worries. There's never late for this call. So, where are you from? Tell me a little bit about you.
I live in. I'll turn on my camera too, so we can make it more personal. Yeah, I live in Chicago currently. I'm from all over the world. I'm Guatemalan Guatemalan, but I've been living in the U.S. for like a decade now, and yeah, currently in Midwest.
That's nice. So we are actually quite close. I'm from Panama.
From where?
From Panama.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
Central
we
America.
Yes. Usually we start this call with a little bit of one of our cultural practices, which is intentions and distractions. Basically, what is your intention for this call? Do you have any expectation for this call? And distraction, anything that could be distracting you. You have issue with your Discord, someone behind you, someone opening your door, whatever count that could be as a distraction. And then we pass it on to someone else. So in this case, I will start, and I will say the main intention for this call is to talk a little bit about what's on the screen, the document that I share on the orientation channel, and to welcome you to our community and to try to solve any question that you may have, or any suggestion or feedback that you may have. And distraction, I have none at the moment. So I will pass it to Ivy.
Thanks, Eduardo. My intentions are to see what's going on in our orientation calls and also record this session. And we'll be recording more sessions in the future. So we can have it available in our YouTube. So just so everyone knows here in the call that this is being recorded for transparency purpose. So yeah, and I pass it to.
My intentions, I'm just here for support, I guess, and see where we're at for what we talk about during the AMA distractions. I'm busy trying to get by to make it the potato rainbow thing a reaction.
I would say that we reduce the amount of questions that they're going to be going on. That's it, right?
Yeah. Pass to Vi.
So mainly I'm just dropping into the orientation process and seeing how we're doing things, and maybe I can help with anything. And one thing that I would admit I'm doing is maybe seeing if there's any DevOps person that shows up, and connect them with Griff, because they're looking for some good with it.
Thank you. And how about you, Javi? What are your intentions and distractions?
My intentions is to try to be more involved with this community. I've been unintentionally thrown into the world of token design based on some of my skill sets as a software developer, and I found it extremely interesting, and you guys seem to be at the forefront of how to do this right. So I want to be involved in the community and sort of introduce myself. And distractions, I have far too many Discord servers, and I'm starting a few things, and a lot of people kind of trying to get in touch with me all the time. So trying to get better at not allowing that to pull my attention from things that I can leverage and get more done if I just focus and do it.
Nice. Would you like to start just by explaining us how do you unintentionally are being dropped into token economics?
No, I mean, no, I've been interested in this space. It's a little bit of a facetious comment, but I'm a software developer and been focusing on smart contract development for this past year, and with that comes a lot of people wanting me to help them with their project, and with that also comes like helping them design a token for some project that they're trying to launch. and realizing that there really is kind of just like a few experiments that are happening in the space, but no such thing as proper practices for doing this correctly, and or right, like very little in terms of like formalized what you'd call design patterns in in architecture or in software design. So, and then the token engineering community being like the ones that are spearheading the effort of formalizing some of this, so we build upon previous knowledge instead of that. Like, it seems like such a great idea.
So I will explain a little bit of what we've gone through, and I really like your explanation. I think actually I had this conversation with one of our stewards, which is Griff. Steward is the name that we call, let's say, group coordinators.
Mm-hmm.
And we have here a steward, which is Ivy. She's a steward for Transparency Working Group. We will explain a little bit of it a little bit later. But Griff mentioned, I remember seeing a few, 6 months ago on Twitter, remember seeing like everyone asking for a Solidity developer, and there were like crickets all over the place. No one answered, no one was applying. And the same like very high paid position, but no one applying. And then I went to Grave because I have zero knowledge of developing. So I went to Grave and I asked him like, hey, do you know why is this kind of a holy grail of why people are struggling with this, or why people are paying so much for this? And he's like, because Solidity is not something people cannot learn. Everyone can learn Solidity. The thing is that you need to have this human aspect to it that most of people doesn't get it. And the thing is, it's just a programming language like any other, but the appliance of that programming language is what makes so difficult to find someone who properly execute it. And that for me was like a wide opening kind of moment, actually, because you will think, it's this cliche that in the developing developer world, this human aspect, it's less considered, but then it turns out that for this, it is actually very needed. So a little bit before we start, we actually do a little bit of a presentation of what is a TEC, mainly because a lot of people entered to the space or to this community without actually realizing what we are doing. And in the screen, you will see a little bit of our vision and mission, but then we tend to enjoy asking some of the people who attend to this call their version of the mission, vision, and values. So Ivy, if you would like to, in your own words, explain for you, what is the vision and the mission of the TEC?
For me?
No, for Ivy. For Ivy.
Oh, okay.
That would be weird.
Okay, so yeah, for me, the mission and vision of the TEC is generally like help TE projects, to move forward and like to advance token engineering projects and support projects and incentivize those people who are working, who are helping us with this mission. So that's the very basic vision for me. Should I pass it, Eduardo, or?
Yeah. No, that's perfect. So yeah, the basic point is that we look forward to advanced token engineering, and we do that through funding public goods. The idea is that we sort of we fund and foster not only good and ethical practices, but also we can fund tools that will be neck to neck and next to this public goods. So we will only have public goods. We also have tools and anything else that will sort of advance token engineering. And we did this. We are executing this mission, vision, and values through a process of becoming a DAO and eventually becoming a commons. That's the process we have followed. I don't know if I will put you on the spot, but Nate, would you like to explain a little bit of how we are going to accomplish, just in general terms, this process of passing from an organization to a DAO and then from a DAO to a commons and the reasoning of it?
Yeah, sorry for being late today. I was just going to pop back in here. But yeah, so the idea is that we launch in a two-phase system where The core principles behind it is that we want to have a DAO that is represented by a community and that is designed by the community from the ground up. And so the first half of our organization is what we're in currently, which is called the Hatch DAO. We designed the parameters for, which is the voting procedures, what we want to exchange for our tokens, how people are compensated. These are all decisions that we made before the Hatch DAO was launched. Now that we're in the Hatch DAO, we're in the middle of what we're calling the Commons upgrade, which is including the augmented bonding curve and conviction voting modules. And so, hold on a second.
So yeah.
Go ahead. And so after that is like, after we have the Commons upgrade, the idea is that this bonding curve will create kind of a continuous organization where we have continual funding that is put through our capital pool, and we can start funding public goods, new economic primitives, new digital primitives that kind of advance this field. And so, yeah, I just want to bring that back to you.
Thank you. So yeah, that's basically what a little bit of what we have, our mission, our intention, how we are executing those MVVs. I would like to ask you, Javi, like, what were the struggles that you have found during the process of these people reaching you out for a token? Or you mentioned the good practices, or in general a framework of action, but do you find concrete like struggles of things that or mistakes that people were repeating, or I don't know, what was your view on it? And welcome, Anson Parker, to the orientation call. We are talking about a little bit of our mission and values, and we were just talking about with Javi about how he was dropped into the token economic system, and I was just about to ask him what were the struggles that he has found.
Yeah, just the fact that there's like so much pressure on getting it right the first time, which is very unusual I guess it's usual in regular engineering practices, but not in software engineering. So this kind of permanent anxiety towards is this going to be the right thing in perpetuity? Right. And that's a big burden to do. And because there's no established patterns, or you either go very, very simple and like a building block that is really easy to use, and then you can maybe add more behavior on top of that later, but then you feel like you might miss out on some of the more interesting behaviors that you can program for the beginning. And then the fact that it's like a complex system, so you have to think of a lot of variables, and we're not used to thinking so much in systems. So it's not such a concrete answer, but just this. I feel like there's this general anxiety of like, wow, like this is going to be a token, like we need to get this right, and yeah.
Anson, would you like to introduce yourself, ask a little bit what your expectations are from this call? If you have any question, you are welcome to participate at any moment also, but if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name's Anson Parker. I am a web developer, open source data science person at the University of Virginia Health Science Library. General work is in GIS mapping, ADA accessibility, and kind of stuff. And I don't know much about Web3, so I'm learning. I've been working in the space for about a year, I guess, and I still feel like a total idiot. So try not to. It's probably all you're going to hear from me for a while.
I mean, I feel that we all felt like that at some point in this learning curve. It's so tricky, the terms, and then if you enter a space, they have very specific terms for their own niche, whatever thing they have. So it's always a struggle, because you feel like, am I missing so much, or is they are having too much? Is this constant back and forward of trying to understand how much do I actually know about this or that? Can I ask you, Onsen, before we keep continuing, like what is your point of interest? Like, what would you like to be or do or learn in this game?
My goal is to get an LL. Well, so I live in the United States. Wyoming recently legalized DAOs as LLCs, which is great. So I am working on, setting that up. Ideally, getting a DAO set up as an LLC to work on a couple of niche products. I want to do one NFT related project, working with news and newsreel, kind of accountable news, and then another project working with credit scores and trying to work with kind of low income people, homeless people, on repairing credit. So those are the kind of projects that we're working on specifically. But yeah, trying to figure out the infrastructure to help facilitate that work.
Nice. So basically what Nate mentioned about a little bit of how we're going to accomplish our mission, vision, and values to sort of move forward the field of token engineering. We basically, just for you to know, the way we work and how we work, we established working groups. Very simple. Every working group have a steward or 2 stewards, which are the group coordinators. And we basically have 11 working groups. All these working groups use a framework, which is Elinor Ostrom framework. I don't know, guys, if you're familiar with Elinor Ostrom. She makes this principle of the commons, and she proposed a thesis about a principle for commons and how these principles could avoid the tragedy of the commons, which is another thesis regarding how public goods tend to fail because of human behavior. So she proposed this concept of the A principle of Ostrom, basically. So right now, we have these working groups. We have the stewards, which is let's say the coordination group, and it's a group that takes care of the workflow, that everyone is sort of on track with their work streams and all this stuff. It's a coordination work group, basically. Then we have SoftGov, which is with researches, best practices, governance related topics, and so on. Then we have legal. It speaks by itself. We have transparency, which is Ivy here is present. Ivy, would you like to explain a little bit about what transparency does, if you feel like it?
Yeah, transparency working group basically monitors how the TEC community is transparent. So the initiatives that we've been doing are recording the calls and making this information and this calls accessible to the community members, to everyone. And we also we do transparency audit. So we check if we check the like the transparency level of the working groups and the community. And I mean, we still do other things, but basically those are the major things that we're doing in the transparency. And the steward is Zeptimus and me.
There you go. Thank you. What happened to my screen? Give me a moment. It stopped working for a second. So also besides, does my screen shows? Or I froze? Did I froze?
I don't think Edgy noticed it. He's still on the call.
Pull the plug, throw it away. Edu, come back. No, but anyway, so are there any working groups that you two are specifically interested in? I know you're still going through the rest of them, but especially if you're developers. So if you're interested in that aspect, I know that the parameters working group and the Common Swarm are very interesting ones you could look at, as well as TEC Labs. How about you, Javi? Is there anything that you're specifically interested in contributing / learning /
I feel like there's like a 5% chance I could be useful in some of the reporting tools. I mean, like I've done a fair. Let me ask: is there like any interface in Python? Is that even a language anybody works with?
we use Python a lot. We utilize CAD a lot for a lot of our system modeling.
I saw a list, and that's something I'm kind of that's an ecosystem I'm comfortable.
In terms of like building tools for transparency and stuff, we haven't built any automated tools for that, but most of it is just human reporting. But right now, for Python, we're using a lot of our parameters working group to build our configuration dashboard, and for CAD for our token modeling.
Cool. Yeah,
Personally, I also.
Yeah, and
I'm back.
What are you saying, Vivi?
Personally, I use Python a lot. So if you're interested in Discord bots, a good share of them in the server are currently in Python. So that can be an interesting thing you could look into. And I think a lot of the stuff we do in TEC Labs is Python oriented, especially like data science mostly, and yeah, CAD for params. So if you're interested in bots, we could talk about that. And yeah, TC Labs would be great for you.
Do you both know what the different working groups do?
Or is it not?
Sorry, is someone speaking?
Yeah. It doesn't work.
I think Edward was speaking, but it's not coming through.
Yeah, I think you're a robot, Edu.
Okay,
Well,
so
yeah, go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I saw Anson shake his head about not knowing about the different working groups, so I guess we should go over that.
Just briefly, yeah, I mean, I don't want to take too much of y'all's time, but the gravity, I can go to a website too and read up. But there was an Omega. Sorry, I can't remember. It was.
Yeah, Omega's for like token engineering ethics and ethos, and kind of the multidisciplinary approach towards token engineering.
And then what was the other one? There was like 6 of them on the screen, and there was the one right beside Gravity.
Yep. Yeah, Gravity, which is our conflict resolution. We have transparency. We have legal, Omega. We have, and Omega is the ethics one. So that's where we study the ethics within token engineering.
No.
Yeah.
What do you mean with yes? You don't remember.
You're still breaking up, Eduardo.
Hear me? Okay.
Commons works.
Maybe like turn off your video and use audio only. I think that can improve things.
Yes, I think it's something about the server. Now can you hear me better? No? You don't seem very convinced. Nate, can you take on explaining the working group?
Sorry, I could not hear him. What did he say?
I think he was asking you to take over. By the way, Anton and Javi, on the orientation channel of the server, I tagged you for some links. Which,
Cool. Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. Yeah. I'm following along there also. Great.
Nick,
Okay,
would
so
you
I
like
got a
to
question
go
just
ahead
for
and
you. This
continue?
is
Go ahead, Nick. You were going to finish up with the rest of the working groups.
I'm so sorry, but my brother is also on the call next to me, so would you mind if we do it? Because otherwise we'll be hearing him throughout this call.
Hello. Now you can hear me.
Yes.
So sad. There is a problem with the internet here, it seems. But I am back. So where do we drop off? Do you keep with the explanation, Nick?
No,
So,
you can go ahead.
perfect. So basically, the working groups that we have Mega, which it's more of an ethical part of how the ethics works in the token engineering community. And then the storage Shepnem, we have Gravity. Gravity, it's one of the most, for me, exciting working groups. Gravity takes care of the equilibrium and the kind of conflict resolution aspect of a DAO, because we are humans, there are problems, we need to know how to solve it. So this Gravity, it works as the name it's intended to be. It's what holds everything together. It's this force that holds everything. So basically, Gravity takes care. We provide a curse of Gravity, which is a conflict management curse for DAOs. And the idea of this is that if you have, for example, Anson, you want to complain about me not being present or me being disrespectful to you, for example, you go through the Gravity working group, and then they sort of create a ticket to mediate in between the conflict that could be in between you and me, or you and someone else. And then we have parameters that I think for you both, Javi and Anson, it's quite a useful working group. It's a working group dedicated to the analysis of the choosing of the parameters that will be implemented on the token. They have many sessions. We have a hack session on Sundays usually, and it's a 4-hour session where they just hack and they just talk and they work on the progress. And they also have another session during the week. And the idea of these sessions is that one is for organization, that it lasts an hour, and the other one is for hacking. So you can access both of them if you feel like. And it's a learning space, basically. And the idea is that you learn the reasoning of why they are using these params, or why they are using these options, or why they are using X or Y. And then we have comms, which is the communication working group. Very simple. They take care of the marketing and all these aspects of the brand. And then we have Common Swarm, which is a partner that we have established with OneHive, another DAO that also have very good practices if you want to take a look at it. And then OneHive we are deploying part of the framework of OneHive for our token and for our technology. So we have created this working group that is in between them and us. And then we have Labs, which Labs is like an experimenting place. As the name suggests, it's actually being taken care by a data scientist, which is YGG. And he basically, we are right now having an introduction course to Solidity, if I'm not wrong, in the labs. but it's a place to go ask questions, to play around. The other time, YGG explained us how to make a 3D data output, a visual data output, based on how people and the characters of a Shakespeare play interact in between them. So it was surreal to see this graphic, and you could play with the characters and see how they will stay in between each other, how often they will interact. So there's a lot of fun stuff going on in labs. And then we have finally Community Task Working Group, which is the community-related working group. And it's a working group that's dedicated mainly to keep this community integrated and to foster community building exercises. Like this call is held by Community Task Working Group. And in this case, the steward, it's me and Tamara. So that's a little bit of how we work. Then we have different ways of interactions. We have mainly Discord. Then we have the usual meetings. All the meetings, as Ivy mentioned, goes recorded to YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and you look for TEC Commons, and you, for example, you want to go to a params call and you don't know what was talked on the last call, just go to YouTube and you will see a little bit of what was talked. You can see the whole session or the whole meeting. We also have agenda for every call. So if you go to the Google Calendar link, to our Google Calendar link, then you will see which is the agenda for that day, what was spoken the last time, and so on. On our Discord that you see in basically right now, if you are on the screen, it's very simple. We have a bunch of menu in our left, typical ones: join here, orientation, help, feedback, and then we have chat channels. And the chat channels, the one that I want to point you out to take a look at is the praise channel on the Discord. The praise channel, it's one of our examples of cultural practices. And if Nate, would you like to explain what is praise?
Sure. Yeah, praise is just a cultural pillar that we have where we want to appreciate everybody and the work that they do.
Correct. So basically, praise is our way to acknowledge people. So for example, after this call, I could praise Javi and Anson and Nick and Ivy and Nate and Vivi for joining this call and participate. This praise becomes part of our cultural practices. So in a way, we do not only develop a token, we do not only develop tools and technological practices, we also develop cultural practices that goes hand to hand with the technological part. So in a way, we don't have a bunch of developers making decision. We empower our community to also be part of this decision and to also make suggestions, acknowledgements, and we reinforce this practice with the praise. And then the praise initially was linked to a token and to a reward system. So Nate, would you like to explain the reward system with the praise, if you feel like?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I was gonna say praise serves a lot of different purposes, and it's very important for everybody to understand how to use it responsibly because praise also serves as a form of mutual monitoring and a way to recognize the work and information sharing among the community. Because as we scale, it's going to get harder and harder for these internal communication mechanisms to actually transfer information from working group to working group. And so praise becomes that. It becomes this kind of message board of like, here's all this information. And so before the Hatch DAO launch, we use praise as a form of one aspect of our reward system. And it'll continue to be part of our reward system, but just a smaller version of it. And so the idea is to incorporate all the qualitative things that aren't usually captured by typical reward systems. And so, the way you approach your work every day, the way you get involved in the working groups, the way you encourage others, inspire others, like those things need to be recognized, and we want people to recognize them and be rewarded for that. And so what we have is we catalog all of our praise, and then we have praise quantifiers at the end of each month who go through this praise and assign them a value based off of their perceived impact. And so these praise quantifiers rotate each month, and so it's going to be a different person every time. And so we kind of have this like unbiased approach towards quantifying the value of praise.
Yes,
I've got this one I'm excited about. I mean, like, so, we're trying to come up with this idea for how to work with credit scores, right? And I don't know how many of you guys live in the U.S. In the U.S., we've got three main credit companies. There's like TransUnion, Equifax, and some other terrible dinosaur, and they're all awful. But I feel like this kind of praise system could fit into a credit system. Does that seem plausible to anyone else? Would that be a metric that you could use to like start? I don't know, like what does that ecosystem look like? Is it mostly Web 2 based, or is the praise system blockchain
right
based?
Right now, it's just Web 2 based and basically human to human. But like, this is the new system, and we're kind of on the edge of all of these new types of processes and trying to test them out and see what works and what doesn't. And so, I think the praise system is great, but it only captures a small amount of the work that's being done in TEC, and so that's why we have to incorporate things like source cred and other reward systems as well.
Yeah, no, I feel like all of those kind of would be the kinds of data sets that you would want to collect to start trying to understand, who a person is and then ascribing credit to them. Because and I'm not an economist and I'm not a business person, so like ascribing credit is kind of a weird thing to me, but like I feel like that's what we're talking about in some ways. It's like trying to understand what kind of people you're dealing with and then ensuring.
For us at the beginning, when we didn't have a token, the praise system became a way to reinforce the community, and also it was as Nate mentioned, it was keeping tab, and it was keeping tab also in a spreadsheet that we quantify, and that was incorporated to the token eventually that we created. So the idea is that the praise system not only has a cultural part but a technical part. And that's a simplification of how economics works. Economic systems could be really complex, but at the end, the economy it's a social science too. So you cannot detach the value from cultural practices. So what we did is to try it out this system, and we in Medium we have analysis of how we improve it. We try to improve it constantly because we had flaws in the system at the beginning. Like if you were, for example, me, she always put her camera on, so she always get visibility. But if other people who were developers who didn't receive enough visibility because they don't show up on the meetings, they will receive less praise. So we actually had to correct this kind of flaws in the system of visibility doesn't mean work necessarily. So how do you reward accordingly and not necessarily only for the people who are visible? So this is kind of things that we are constantly evolving, and the idea is that praise was taken from it's a system that the idea is open source, and the idea is that everyone else can also use it, real life, virtual life, or whatever. But for us, it was actually a bonding experience, and also a way to sort of give another layer to the token that we were creating. Because people who receive praise also at some point were given certain tokens for governance. So in that way, you could also, if you had a high level of participation, then it means you have a votation for governance, just to say as an example. What is this clear for you, Anson?
Yeah, no, thank you. I think it's just really interesting. I'm trying to see what has already been built and how I can leverage what's already in the ecosystem to kind of get an MVP out, frankly, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, that's what this turns into. It's like, okay, what data streams could we use to start kind of emulating a credit system? That's where that is.
How about you, Javi? Do you have any questions so far? I don't know if it has been confusing. Any doubts? I cannot hear you, even though I can see you speaking. You got my syndrome. You're unmuted, but I don't. No. Nope. It's something with your mic, I believe. No, yeah, I see how you connect and suddenly disconnect. Nope. Can someone else hear him, or is it only me?
No. Bye bye, Vid. Is he still here?
Have you tried unplugging your mic?
It's okay. Is this better?
Yes, now it works.
Gotcha.
There we go. No, I'm definitely interested in the what do you call it? Like the parameter working group, and just and also very interested in this praise system, how it's actually implemented more on the technical level. And yeah, because I'm also involved with DAOs, and I'm starting my own DAO project related to like some of the learnings that I've had around token design, and so yeah, like making it more of an efficient system, and rewarding early contributors before we launch something governance related. Seems like you guys have done a lot of work in this space already. So yeah, it'd be great to see how that actually might be a model that could be replicated.
Yeah, I can also suggest you to take a look in the Amplify chat channel. Actually, I think today or yesterday it was pasted a link of the token engineering community for the Academy. The T Academy is giving courses about token economics also. If you
Yes,
see first, so yeah, that also could be helpful.
totally. I'm excited about that.
And we're continually building our documentation around these concepts, and so like I feel the praise system in general as well is the core principle around the praise system is that we were able to get a value aligned community and kind of promise them this reward through praise and via a token. And because the value of that token was kind of abstracted, it didn't really impact anything. And so we went through a lot of like trial and error with this type of system, but the point is that it is a really good way to bootstrap a community that didn't have any starting capital. And so that's a huge barrier for a lot of DAOs. And so I think this is what we can take away from that is with the praise system. And so we hope to get a lot more documentation around that to help other communities with that's the initial starting point.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions about parameters.
Sure.
Also, and I guess that's a good time to ask.
Can you?
Yeah,
Yeah, I can barely hear you. So I don't know if it's.
Sorry, the question I had about the parameters was like whether or not adding parameters for one of the ideas we have is geospatial voting, like people who are in a certain to be able to vote on a project. So kind of, or we work with a lot of social justice groups, so like having making sure that we have participation from different minorities. Is that the kind of parameters that we could put into the parameter spec, or is that not the place for that? But I know it's going to be a question that we have. Like, we're going to want, equitable gender representation in our voting. We're going to want, I know that, like, that's going to be something people ask about. They're going to ask about, I'm just curious if that's the right place to start looking at those questions.
So this is more of a cultural practice, and it goes more on the soft-gov related aspect regarding participation and involvement and equality kind of sense. In parameters, it's more about the technical aspect, if you want to think about it that, and then soft-gov takes care of the cultural part.
Okay, then I'm probably more interested in the soft gov to start with, because I think that's really where more of the questions that are going to come my way need to be answered.
Yeah, and we also have our reward system.
The parameters is way over my head. Nobody wants my opinion on that shit. They want smarter people on that one. No. Well, yeah, no. I think that's great. Thank you for making that distinction. I think that helps me a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there is also a channel on the left that says reward system, Reward system is the process that we are implementing with SourceScript and a lot of other same reward system. So you may want to take a look at that, because it's an ongoing working in progress, and they have their own calls. So you may want to also attend to those calls, because it could be productive for you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. We are 5 minutes to finish the call. I want to ask if anyone else have any other question. I dropped this link of this document where you can find the calendar for seeing all of our meetings on the orientation chat, so you can see it there. We also have the forum. A lot of the documentation and processes goes to votation, and to public announcements goes into the forum. We also have the, of course, our Discord and our Gitbook, which was hugely done by here Nate and Livy. And our Gitbook is the space where a lot of questions get answered, where our mission, vision, values is, the description of the working groups, our process of becoming a DAO, our process of becoming a commons, all is on the Gitbook. So it's the most condensed place if you want to take a look at general things. And in general sense, we are very open as a community. You can drop a message to have a private call, or to me, or to anyone from the coordination. They will see a label that says orientation coordinator. You can set up a call. You can drop a message in orientation in general. If you have a question, don't hesitate. You can enter to any call, even if you think it's too much, it's too complex for you. Even if it's params that it's complex for me, everyone there is supportive, and usually everyone is welcoming. So we embrace this transparency, we embrace this welcoming. So feel free to drop a message in case you get lost, or in case you have very specific questions. Also feel free to do it, and we are here to help you. So let me know in the last 4 minutes if anyone have any other question or any other suggestion.
I also just want to say that I want to encourage you guys to come to the param parties. If you haven't looked at our configuration dashboard for our Commons upgrade, it's really fun. If you fancy yourself a token engineer, take a stab at it. The idea is to get as many proposals from the community as we can. And when we're done, we're going to all debate the parameters and vote on them. So I think we have a param party today at, let me see.
Yeah,
Yes,
and the params party, they let you ask any questions. Like in the first half, they said it. In the second half, it's like other people presenting their proposals for parameters. So you can
just to put a bit of context, the params party, it's about the dashboard and the bonding curve and the models, that bonding curve, and that we are going to implement in a few weeks. So we are going through the parameter choosing of how it's a community decision. So everyone can submit their own set of parameters of how the bonding curve will behave. And then the community will vote on which parameter it's the one that they see fit for this change to our commons. Welcome, Ms. Liao. This is the orientation call. We are at the end of the call, but you are free to introduce yourself and ask any question before we end up.
Oh, I'm gonna step out real quick. Thank you.
Thank you, Javi.
Thank you.
If you are talking, Ms. Liao, you are muted, and we cannot hear you. All right. Thank you so much for joining this call, and I look forward to see you around, everyone. Have a lovely Wednesday. Take care.
Thanks, Edo.
Thanks, Ed.